Members, good morning. We have a quorum, so I call this meeting to order. In the 2026 Legislative Council session, as of the last meeting, we have approved 12 items with a total commitment of $76.4254 billion. For today's meeting agenda, we're going to discuss 6 items. The first one is the funding application not yet approved at the meeting of the 17th of June. As for the remaining funding proposals submitted by the administration, they are new. These 6 items involve a total funding of $15.9657 billion. Should all the funding proposals be supported by members, the total commitment will stand at $92.3911 billion under these 18 items. Deducting the $22.7477 billion of funding under land acquisition and computerization project, the total commitment for public works projects will stand at $69.6434 billion. Let me remind members that if there are direct or indirect pecuniary interests in relation to items discussed today, please disclose the nature of the interest before you speak, according to Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure. Please also note the voting requirement when direct pecuniary interests are involved under Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedure. Now moving on to Item 115AP, Expansion of Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter. Members, please refer to paper PWSC 2026-27, Item 10. Members, if you want to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. The paper proposes upgrading 115AP to Category A at an estimated cost of $2.0303 billion in MOD prices. The administration consulted the panel on development on the 26th of May this year in relation to this item. Members supported submission of this item to the Subcommittee for consideration. The key deliberations of the panel have been forwarded to members by email on the 25th of June 2026. As for the list of public officers in attendance for this item, would members please refer to the LegCo's website. 14 members would like to speak and ask questions. Let me read out their names. Members may wish to refer to the list for preparation. Mr. Lam Wai Kong, Chris Ip, Ken Wong, Ray Wong, Lam Chen Sing, Chan Hock Fong, Kitson Yang, Michelle Tang, Kenneth Fogg, Christine Fong, Andrew Lam, Vivian Kong, Dennis Leung, and Hong Kam In. So the 14 members will speak in this order. I will give each member 4 minutes questions and answers. So there'll be time for members to raise questions, starting with Mr. Lam Wai Kwong. Thank you, Chairman. In principle, I support works at the Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter to bring vibrancy to the local economy in Southern District, especially since this project will create quality jobs for the local community. But I'd like to ask 3 questions. First, in relation to berthing for fishing vessels, paragraph 8 of the paper refers to the public mooring area, which will be expanded according to Annex 4. Now, district councillors have criticized the public mooring areas for not being well organized, and their vessels will have to compete for the space. Now, fishing vessels are concerned that whilst accommodating the yachts, there will be fewer berths for them, and there could be collisions. So will there be an arrangement for local fishing vessels? Next question, according to paragraph 15 of the paper, to the east of the breakwater, there will be installations for photo check-ins, and this will be jointly managed with the Ocean Park Corporation. I want to know whether there will be local features of the southern districts included as well, so that people know more about our district. The third question relates to marine traffic, and during inclement weather, typhoon shelters will be very critical. So I want to know how this will be dealt with while works are in progress, and whether there will be suitable berthing areas for fishing vessels. Now, Mr. Lam asked 3 questions. For the first 2 questions, he refers to planning matters. For example, he asked about the public mooring area as well as the eastern side of the breakwater. So I will allow these questions. Now, as for the third question, is about a very realistic question when works are in progress. Ms. Doris Ho, the Permanent Secretary, will answer these questions. For the first question, thank you, Chairman, about expansion of the typhoon shelter, that is for the public mooring area. 11 hectares are proposed as a public mooring area on top of the 10 hectares for private pleasure vessels and yachts. So the 11-hectare public mooring area will accommodate, like the member said, local fishing vessels as well as pleasure vessels. As for detailed planning, I will give the floor to the Assistant Director. And then about the construction stage, I'll give the floor to Mr. Chan. And about installations with features of Southern District, this is definitely possible. When we move on to the detailed design stage, we will engage the Southern District Council and the local community in a more detailed discussion on how we can showcase the features of the Southern District as a fishing village in its design. Mr. Law will give a brief reply to the question, please, from the Marine Department. Now, we have some basic facilities related to fishing vessels, such as the ice production base, as well as the wholesale fishing market, and that's to the western side of the typhoon shelter. Now, we'd like to set aside an area for public mooring near Po Chang Wan, and with proper management, there will be more space for fishing vessels. Next, from the CDD, Mr. Chan, the Director, Mr. Edmund Chan. Our consultant conducted an impact assessment on marine traffic. It is anticipated that there will be some impact on marine traffic while works are in progress. So together with the contractor, we're going to set up a community liaison group. We will put in place temporary marine traffic arrangement measures, and we will keep in liaison with the local community. Again, we'll also devise responsive measures for inclement weather. Mr. Chris Ip, I support this proposal of expanding the Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter for the sake of developing yacht economy. This is a prerequisite. In Monaco, in Italy, in Barcelona, there are similar facilities, and they're famous. And that in these countries, I see holistic planning. It's not just about increasing berthing space. It's about injecting impetus to the economy. So I'd like to learn more about that. As I understand, the berthing area will be very close to the hotel near Ocean Park. Now, Ocean Park runs into deficit year after year. So if Ocean Park situation does not improve, then there'll be an eyesore to have this facility next to the berthing area. So I want to know what will be done to the southern side of the Typhoon shelter to ensure that the berthing area remains a world-class one. And that I understand on the eastern side of the breakwater there will be a check-in spot. This will have some appeal, I think, but then will it increase the traffic burden nearby? The last question is this. There used to be a jumbo seafood restaurant in Southern District. Now it's gone. I understand some investors would like to reinstate this seafood restaurant. So in terms of government's future planning, will you consider helping out so as to enhance tourist experience and to enhance the appeal of Southern District? Well, Mr. Chris Ip asked a number of questions on holistic planning matters. I suppose these should be followed up on at the panel meeting. But I think all these things, including planning, works, detailed design, are relevant to this paper. So I would invite Ms. Doris Ho to take these questions as well, including the traffic aspect. Thank you, Chair. The member mentioned yard economy. I fully agree that when it comes to the yard economy, we should not just develop berthing facilities. We also need onshore facilities in support of the idea, including a marina, maintenance and repair yards, F&B facilities. So if we turn to enclosure 4, you will find this private facility marked in green. And then we have about 1 hectare of area near Po Chong Wan. An integrated development approach will be undertaken. That means there'll be nearshore F&B facilities as well as private residential development. And like the member said, we want to create synergy with Ocean Park. Riding on this opportunity of expanding the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter, on the southern side, 2 new breakwaters will be created. As for the existing one on the eastern side, it will be retrofitted with facilities and it will be turned into a public open space. Together with the walkway, they will come under the management of Ocean Park in the future, so as to create synergy. Now, members' other concerns include traffic. Our consultant has conducted impact assessments, including a traffic impact assessment in relation to this project. There will be road improvement measures, and I believe after introducing these measures, there will be an improvement. Because I don't think there will be any overlapping of road use by local residents and yacht or marina users. And I'll now give the floor to Ms. Young to take the question on seafood restaurant. To answer members' question, the Invigorating Island South office has been liaising with the licensee of the seafood restaurant, and we'll be happy to accommodate should there be any proposal. We'll continue to communicate with them on the promotion of tourism in the area as well as development of the marina. Next, Mr. Canmore. Thank you, Chairman. I support expansion of Aberdeen Typhoon shelter so as to increase the number of berths and for Aberdeen to enhance its capacity of tackling extreme weather. It will also be conducive to the development of tourism in Southern District and yacht tourism. I have 2 questions. According to paragraph 2 of the paper, the project will be carried out at an estimated cost of $20.303 billion, and that the new breakwater will take up $1.47 billion of the total cost. And in paragraph 18, the administration refers to the construction of breakwaters, including the floating breakwater, the use of high-strength steel, and also precast materials to save the cost of dismantling. Can you give a more detailed account about the cost savings? Say, if these materials are not adopted, how much will the project cost? And for works at sea, they are more susceptible to weather changes. So, at the construction stage, are there measures to further control costs to avoid an escalation of costs because of these risks? The second question is about regular maintenance and repair. According to paragraph 23, the administration estimates the annual recurring expenditure to be about $15.73 million, involving primarily management, maintenance of the breakwaters, pedestrian walkway, as well as the impact protection system, public landing facilities, and public open space. Now my question is, if the marina is to be used by private yachts and for related tourism activities, then in the future, in terms of the operating arrangement, will there be a clear division of work and delineation of responsibilities?
Permanent Secretary, I thank the member for the support. The member asked about paragraph 18 of the paper. A number of measures are mentioned in that paragraph, and the member asked how much money could be saved by adopting those measures. I'd like to draw your attention to paragraph 18A. We are combining the breakwater projects as well as the project in Typhoon. Paragraph 18A does not mention the construction cost saved, but we made the calculation and $30 million will be saved. We will also use breakwaters to replace wave wall, and $80 million will be saved. 18D talks about a vertical face design. And that could help us reduce the area of seabed, and $300 million will be saved. Paragraph 18D talks about the use of high-strength steel. According to our estimate, $1.4 million will be saved by using such steel. As for E, we haven't made an estimate yet, but we don't think a huge sum could be saved. A significant amount of money will be saved by adopting measures A to D. The member also asked about the recurrent expenditure after the project is completed. That's paragraph 23. Maintenance costs will be incurred for the proposed breakwaters and pedestrian walkway, and the government will shoulder that cost. As for the eastern breakwaters, the pedestrian walkway as well as the public landing facilities, they will be entrusted to the Ocean Park for repair and maintenance, and the costs incurred are reflected here. So there will be a clear division of work. The government will be responsible for the repair and maintenance of the structures. As for the management of facilities, the Ocean Park will be responsible for that. Thank you. Members, I noticed that 12 members are still waiting to speak. To better manage time, members who would like to speak but haven't yet pressed the button, please press the button as soon as possible. I plan to draw a line at 9:25 a.m. So members, please pay attention to the time. Next, Mr. Ray Wong. the BPA supports upgrading this project to Category A to expand the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter. This project can help promote high-end yacht tourism and economy, and this will be a good use of the valuable water bodies. I have the following 3 suggestions. First, we should enhance the flexibility of berthing of super yachts. 10 hectares will be reserved for the private marina. It is expected that the first half of 2027, the tender exercise will be held, and currently there are some restrictions to the berthing. Will you relax the 50-meter restrictions for super yacht? As for the seabed as well as the stabilization works, there should be flexibility reserved in order to better plan for bigger vessels to come in. Second, I'd like to ask about the eco-shoreline and the long-term operation. I agree that we should include tidal pools and other eco-elements. However, the eastern breakwaters will be in the water for the long term at the Tombolo, and this would affect the floating as well as the capacity of the floating chains. The annual recurrent expenditure of $15 million, does that include the cleaning of the eco-shorelines? Also, I'd like to ask about the capacity of breakwaters. A vertical face design as well as a wave wall are proposed. It will help save $300 million. The overlap will include the tetrapods. There was the super typhoon of Ragasa, and with that experience, you are proposing an 80-meter wave wall. Are you going to do a test on the model to make sure that it will be resilient against super typhoon? For questions 2 and 3, I will ask my colleague to supplement. As for the question about how many yachts or how long a yacht could the future private marina accommodate, we hope that it will be able to accommodate vessels that are 50 meters long. We have looked at some statistics. Currently, there are about 10,000 pleasure vessels, and 99% of them are below 50 meters in length. The global trend is that we want to attract super yachts to come to Hong Kong. We noticed that the TLB as well as the Airport Authority are planning for a berthing facilities, and it will provide 500 berthing spaces. We want to attract super yachts that are about 100 meters long in that marina, but for this particular marina, we mostly want to accommodate yachts that are 50 meters in length. We will see if there will be room to accommodate bigger yachts at the next stage. Now I will defer to the CEDD. CEDD, I thank the member for the questions. We refer to the latest manual published by the CEDD to design this project, and we have incorporated data that we collected during super typhoons previously. We also adopted a 3D model to do the testing. So the current proposed design of the breakwaters will be able to cope with high greenhouse gas emissions. As for the wave absorption chamber, we propose a vertical face design. In times of big waves, the waves will go into the wave absorption chambers, and that could help reduce the impact. we stick to a design standard, and the wave will have to be smaller than 0.9 meter in height. I have drawn a line as it is now 9:25 a.m. We will have about an hour for this item. Members, please watch the time so that there will be enough time for the administration to give a detailed reply. Next, Mr. Lam Chun Sing. Thank you, Chairman. I support this proposal. The entire project will only be completed in 2031. The SAR government is working with the mainland authorities to implement southbound travel for yachts. In the coming few years, we might see yachts from the mainland coming to Hong Kong. However, this project will only be completed in 2031. I want to know if you will adopt a phased approach. For example, for some berthing spaces, will they be put in use in the first 2 to 3 years so that we can receive yachts from the mainland? This particular site is an attraction site and it has beautiful scenery. If we are able to receive yachts from the mainland, it will become a signature project. Now, Hong Kong is a good place for developing yacht economy. However, there are typhoons during wind seasons, and there was previously a typhoon that affected a hotel in the southern district. Would that deter yachts from other places from coming to Hong Kong? I understand that the breakwaters proposed could withstand once-in-a-century typhoons. The recurrent expenditure consists of about $15 million for maintenance of the breakwaters. Well, there are typhoons every year. And I want to know if this amount of money is enough for the maintenance and repair costs for the breakwaters. Well, we're talking about a tourist attraction site. If there are any damages to the facilities, we want the facilities to be repaired as soon as possible. If they are damaged and they are left unattended, it's not ideal. So I want to know if the maintenance cost set aside is enough. Ms. Doris Ho? I thank the member for the support. We believe that this entire project will take about 4.5 years. That is 2030. The project will be completed. By 2031, the private marina as well as the residential development projects will be completed. We want the project to be completed as early as possible. So we hope that we don't need to wait until 4.5 years later to pass over the site to the relevant party, that is the developer. We hope that in the 3rd year we will be able to pass over the site to the developer. As for whether there will be any support measures for receiving yachts from the mainland, understand that the Marine Department has identified some berthing spaces in 5 different locations in Hong Kong. So we will allow yachts to be parked or berthed in those 5 locations. The second question is about whether the money set aside is enough for the repair and maintenance of breakwaters.
Mr. Chan, now on recurrent expenditure, there are 2 parts. The first part relates to the cost for maintaining the breakwater structure. We've set aside about $6.6 million for regular repair and maintenance of the structure, having reference to the cost of maintaining and repairing existing breakwaters by our department. We're also going to install movable sensors and cameras on top of the caissons of the existing breakwaters so as to help us deal with any incidents expeditiously. Next, Mr. Chan Hock Fong. Thank you, Chair. This is a rather important project in the history of typhoon shelters in Hong Kong. It's a large-scale expansion of Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter. Now, other members already touched on the matter of berths. I hope that this will help improve the ecosystem in general. In your plan, I see new berths. But for existing berths, I think you need to discuss with the local fishermen because there are irregular operations in the existing typhoon shelter. For example, for Lammer Island and other piers, there are berths not really accessible unless you possess some special skills. So you need to expand the berths. And please also tell us your efforts to relocate some of the shipyards because of affected by the expansion project. And through this expansion project, I hope that other supporting facilities will be enhanced as well, such as the supply of power and water. In fact, I have been following up on this matter with the Marine Department and I'd like to know the arrangement in greater detail. The next point is this about Sham Wan Road. Well, I understand that there is a project being tendered, and that project comes under the Ocean Park. Now, I'm concerned about that stretch of the road because there are a number of international schools nearby, and this is a one-lane carriageway for each side, and we need to accommodate the schools and the shipyards as well as the water park of the Ocean Park. So I want to know what traffic management measures you have in place. Now about this new breakwater, it will be managed by the Ocean Park, but I'm concerned about their financial arrangement. I'm not sure whether they have to come back and ask for funding anyway because of their recurring losses. So do you have any backup plan? About Mr. Chan's question on traffic management, I think you've answered that question twice. If you have anything to add, please do. For the other questions, Permanent Secretary, please. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member, for the support. About reorganizing the berths in the typhoon shelter, we need to consult stakeholders, including local fishermen. The Marine Department plans to start this consultation process in the first half of next year in relation to the shipyards in Po Chong Wan as well as the buoys. They will be inevitably affected if we take this forward, and Ms. Young leads a team and they're actively discussing with the affected operators. In fact, we've identified a site in Tin Wan, and that for operators of shipyards, they can be relocated to Tin Wan through restricted tendering. About power and water supply, I'll see if Mr. Chan would like to supplement. About Sham Wan Road, like the chairman said, now we have conducted a traffic impact assessment for access and egress by vehicles of yacht users. They do not share the same pattern of commuting with local residents, so there will not be a major impact. And yet we're going to put in place improvement measures such as passers-by, and that buses and minibuses will use the lay-by for picking up and dropping off of passengers instead of blocking the whole lane. And we plan to provide more loading and unloading points in the marina so as not to affect the traffic. As for breakwater, I asked the member to be reassured because, of course, there will be additional cost of management. We've set aside about $9 million of the $15 million of recurrent expenditure in total for Ocean Park to undertake management responsibilities. Mr. Chan will take the question on power and water supply, please. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, member, for the questions. About the new breakwater, it will come with water and power supply. As for the typhoon shelter, we will take forward further discussions. Mr. Kissonya, thank you. I'd like to ask a follow-up question on breakwaters. As you know, after the super typhoon struck, things were really catastrophic near Chung Kwan O. Now we're going to adopt a vertical face breakwater, which will help us save up to $300 million in costs comparing to a sloping breakwater. But I'd like to know about the service life as well as the maintenance costs in the long term, whether this will be as resilient in the face of extreme weather events. Because I want to know whether it's value for money. You need to tell us in the long term whether factoring in the long-term maintenance cost is still worthwhile. About management by Ocean Park Corporation, the Permanent Secretary just explained that $9 million will be set aside for Ocean Park Corporation to manage the breakwater. Now, my question is whether $9 million will be sufficient, because we're going to put in place installations for check-in spots. Now, if $9 million will be spent only on the installations, I don't think it will come with very good result. And if $9 million cover the maintenance costs as well, then I'm concerned. Will you allow Ocean Park to charge a fee for entering the area for photo check-ins? Because it's just one step away from the Ocean Park itself. So will you allow the charging of fees so that they can put in place nicer installations and that their creativity will not be stifled by just $9 million? Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for the support. Mr. Chan will elucidate the first question. As I understand, we adopt very high design standards for the new two breakwaters. We have regard to the latest design standards for the 200-year rainfall event, and that the amplitude of the waves should be reduced to 0.9 meters, and that we won't see a repeat of what happened to the hotel facilities near Ocean Park last year. Mr. Chan will supplement in a moment. The member is also concerned about the new breakwaters and the installations and whether the money set aside will be sufficient for Ocean Park. In short, the hardware, and that is the installations, will be included in the project cost. And like the member said, in terms of design, we may have to include local features, and we'll engage the local community, the stakeholders in Ocean Park in a further discussion. As for recurrent expenditure of $9 million, it refers to day-to-day maintenance, including cleaning, security, staff. And about charging of fees by the Ocean Park, we do keep an open mind. We will further this discussion with Ocean Park. I'll now give the floor to the To Mr. Chan from CDD. Thank you, member, for the question. Like the Permanent Secretary said, our design is resilient against the 200-year rainfall and wave events. And we've also adopted the scenario of having moderate greenhouse effect or greenhouse emission. So after adopting this scenario in our analysis and design, if the actual greenhouse emission scenario is high instead of moderate, we can further increase the height of the breakwater. So this is a robust design. Sorry, your time is up. Please follow up in writing. Ms. Michelle Tang. Thank you, Chair. The government is applying for funding of $20.3 billion to expand the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter in order to meet a number of policy objectives, including yacht berthing facilities to promote yacht tourism. I am in no support of the administration. In fact, the BPA is the first party to propose the development of yacht economy, and we have been working with the sector in promoting the overall development of yacht economy in the Greater Bay Area. In the Policy Address 2025, I see that the Chief Executive has adopted our suggestions because there are a number of paragraphs relating to the development of yacht economy, and I'm delighted to see this proposal. To follow up on Mr. Ray Wong's question, I see that the government already responded to the question on berths for super yachts. The administration mentioned that at the airport, berths have been set aside to accommodate super yachts of more than 50 meters in length, but that's for the airport. For the South District, I think more should be done to accommodate these large yachts as well. And then you responded by saying that at the next stage you review the situation and see whether these big berths will be provided. But I think by that time it would be difficult to make a change, because if you only increase the berths of super yachts, then it will cause some chaos to the existing operation. So why not decide and reserve more berths for super yachts now? Ms. Ho. Thank you, member, for your support. And about the marina proposed in the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter, we do target berths that can accommodate yachts up to 50 meters. And let me explain why the 50-meter berths is the focus. As I explained, we have 12,000 pleasure crafts in Hong Kong. 99% of them are below 50 meters in length. So we'd like to adopt this target of accommodating 50-meter long yachts. We also learned from the market that there is a call for more berths for super long yachts. And again, I'd like to take members to enclosure 4. Now, as you can see, we are going to build 2 new breakwaters, one on the east and the other on the west. And there is, to some extent, overlapping in order to let the breakwaters fulfill the function of absorbing the waves. And that means we still need to impose a limit on the length of vessels entering the area. However, for the green patch in enclosure 4 in the diagram, that is the proposed private marina, must we adopt a similar length restriction of 50 meters? And we're discussing with the CDD. I hope that These details will be spelled out in the tender document to be published in the first half of next year, and that there are technical reasons we need to consider.
主席有幾個問題嘅，我
Mr. Kenneth Fogg, I'm concerned about the traffic as well as the planning, but some members have already asked those questions. I'm not going to repeat them. I think car parks are important too. If you want to attract visitors there, you need car parks. From Wong Chuk Hang Station to the site, it's about 2 kilometers in distance. If you walk there, it's quite far. So I hope that you can pay attention to the demand for car parking spaces. Now I'd like to ask about water current. The existing breakwaters will not be taken down. So have you studied the problem of water current? Will there be water remaining in the middle part and cause odor problem? Have you done relevant studies? Second, how many vessels will the new pier be able to accommodate? I asked this question because the permanent secretary said the site will accommodate mainly vessels of 50 meters in length. Well, the public landing facilities are not going to be huge in size. I believe that most vessels will have to rely on the public landing facilities for embarkation and disembarkation. I want to know if only one vessel can use the public landing facilities at a time. Will the landing facilities be enough? Also, the permanent secretary said the site will mainly serve vessels of 50 meters in length. I understand that the vessels are governed by the existing legislations in Hong Kong. The southern and western part of the Typhoon shelter accommodate only vessels of 30.4 meters in length or below. Well, does that mean you will have to amend the existing legislation so that you can serve yachts or vessels of 50 meters in length? For Chen Chao, the restriction is 50 meters. Hailing Chao, 75 meters. Permanent Secretary. The member asked a number of questions. The first question is about car parking spaces. We have the same concerns. So at the private marina as well as the future private residential development, there will be enough car parking spaces. We will also reserve car parking spaces for those who use the berthing facilities in future. There are also car parking spaces at the Ocean Park. There are about 230 of them at the Water World. So I believe that there will be a certain level of supply. To address the member's third question, I'd like to draw your attention to enclosure 4 again. I said the site will accommodate vessels over about 50 meters in length. I'm referring to the green patch, that is the private marina. As for the blue patch, after the expansion, there will be a public mooring area. The member is correct. If we are to serve vessels of 50 meters in length, we will have to amend the existing legislations because the Typhoon shelter in Aberdeen currently accommodate vessels of 30 meters in length. For the blue patch, it may not be able to accommodate vessels of 50 meters in length because it can probably just serve those of 10 to 20 meters in length. Mr. Chen, please address the questions about water current. I thank the member for the questions. In the EIA, we conducted a hydraulic model. There will not be any significant changes to the impacts of the vessels in the Typhoon shelter after the expansion. Marine Department, I thank the member for the questions. The member is correct. According to the existing legislations, different Typhoon shelters can accommodate vessels of different lengths. This new Typhoon shelter will accommodate vessels of 50 meters in length, so we will amend the legislations. Next, Ms. Christine Fong. I support this $2 billion project because it can help promote yacht economy and tourism in the Southern District. The navigation channel will occupy a size of 24 hectares. There will be a number of breakwaters in the navigation channels, and it links up Lake Chau as well as the ocean park. I want to know if there will be enough public landing facilities. If you entrust them to the ocean park for management, it could be an attraction because the ocean park could make use of them to attract visitors. So I want to know there will be landing facilities there. Also, there will be floating breakwaters at the town below. Have you thought about using a vertical design, and what will be the cost difference if you adopt a vertical design? I see that you are drawing reference from the breakwaters in Lake Chau. Well, this project will cost $200 million, and you said you are going to build western breakwaters. Well, previously in Cheung Kwan O, there were overtopping waves of 6 meters in height, and the ocean park may be subject to similar impact. Is it that you want to accommodate vessels of 50 meters in length? That's why you need to shorten the breakwaters. And by shortening them, will it affect the Ocean Park Hotel? That is, if you shorten the western breakwater, will it have any impact on the hotel? Well, Mr. Kenneth Fogg asked about the landing facilities as well, and Ms. Doris Ho has already addressed the questions. So I will ask Mr. Chan as well as Ms. Doris Ho to reply to the questions. Ms. Ho? I thank the member for the support. Regarding the eastern breakwater, there will be public landing facilities, and 2 vessels can make use of the landing facilities for passenger embarkation and disembarkation at the same time. Currently, there are water taxis at the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter. We hope that we can make use of the landing facilities to attract passengers to use water taxis to get to Tai Shu Wan. Regarding the question about breakwaters, with the town below, it could help reduce the strength of waves. So according to experts, we don't need to build a traditional wave wall. Instead, floating breakwaters could do, and that could help us save $80 million. As for why we need to shorten the western breakwaters, I can ask Mr. Chan to elaborate later. But mainly, it has nothing to do with the berthing spaces for yachts. The eastern breakwaters to be built as well as the existing western breakwaters can help withstand waves, and the wave height will be reduced to about 90 centimeters. So the situation where the hotel was affected when typhoon struck, such situation will not happen again. Mr. Chen? Let me elaborate. We will first build the new breakwaters. We expect that within the 4.5 years of construction, the entire project will be completed. And for the breakwaters, they will be completed within 3 years' time. We'll wait until the breakwaters are built to take down the old ones. So there will be enough capacity to withstand future typhoons and waves. Mr. Andrew Lam, I believe Mr. Chen has already addressed my questions. You are going to modify 2 breakwaters and build 2 new breakwaters within 4.5 years' time. The question I have in mind is how we can safeguard people's safety at the typhoon shelter during the construction. My other question is about materials. According to the paper, you will make use of certain materials to save construction costs. So the materials will be for the modification of the breakwaters. Mr. Chen, I thank the member for the questions. We will make use of the materials after we've taken down the existing western breakwaters. We will recycle those materials as we build the eastern breakwaters. We will use those materials for the absorption chamber to save money. Any follow-up questions, Mr. Andrew Lam? That means the materials will be used in building the 2 new breakwaters. So it will be used internally, so it will not affect safety, correct? Yes. Ms. Vivian Kong, the tourism sector supports the expansion of the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter because it will provide important hardware for ecotourism. According to the paper, there will be integration of the ocean park and the abundant natural resources nearby. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Also, the construction will last for about 4 years. Before and after the expansion, how will the government conserve marine lives as well as make sure the sustainability development of the community to make sure that the lives of local residents as well as the nearby water bodies will not be affected? How will you balance development and conservation? Ms. Doris Ho, I thank the member for the support. The member asked how we will, during the construction, reduce the impact on the seabed as well as marine lives. I'll ask Mr. Chen to elaborate. As for the first question asked by the member, that is, how we will integrate the ocean park and the nearby natural resources with the expansion of the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter, where we will build new breakwaters on the eastern side, and there will be landing facilities there. It will serve the water taxis that are currently running at the typhoon shelter, and this could attract visitors to use water taxis to get to the ocean park. Apart from the new breakwaters, along the shore there will be a pedestrian walkway, and that will be connected to the new breakwaters as well as the ocean drive. This can also help attract visitors to use the pedestrian walkway. We will make use of eco-shoreline elements such as eco-tiles as well. And I understand that the ocean park will plan new activities. With the new facilities and the breakwaters, I believe there will be a synergy. CEDD, I thank the member for the questions. We adopt a more eco-friendly approach to build the foundation in this project. Traditionally, excavation may affect marine lives. Now, we propose a deep-sea cement mixing approach, and that will help protect the environment. As the Permanent Secretary said, there will be a pedestrian walkway. And we propose to adopt eco-shoreline elements there. And for the western breakwaters, there will also be eco-shoreline elements. We will make use of eco-tiles as well as tidal pools to ensure rich biodiversity.
Next, Mr. Dennis Leung. I'd like to thank the department, first and foremost, Chairman. When we were briefed about this paper at the panel meeting, we were not given all the information. But today at the Public Works Subcommittee meeting, I see a lot of drawings that come with detailed information such as dimensions, and I think this is a good practice. I hope the department will continue to do the same. The second point is that, as I understand, the pedestrian walkway along the breakwaters will be a tourist attraction in the future. So I hope that when it comes to private development, there will be more public berthing facilities, and that there will be supporting traffic facilities as well. The other question is about the vertical face breakwater to be adopted on the eastern side. Now, for the western side, as I understand that the traditional one will be used on the eastern side, it spans 80 meters. Now, for the western side, I see that this traditional model will be adopted. That means a base with a width of 175 meters. The department just explained ways to reduce pollution, and that water quality will not be affected by dredging works on the western side. Because I understand that the seabed is estimated to have a depth of 26 meters. So I'd like to have technical details. The second point is that the pedestrian walkway will come with a vessel impact protection system. Now, it's not clearly spelled out in the paper, but I see that there is a similar berthing facilities nearby, and that it's quite close to the pedestrian walkway. Now, I want to know whether the system will remain useful, because after setting up the marina, there will be only a very narrow passageway for vessels to go through. So I want to have this detail as well. The third point is about the waterways in Aberdeen. Will there be new rules and regulations put in place so as to protect the water quality in Aberdeen, and that you're not going to cause any, say, odor problem? Because this will not be conducive to promoting tourism. Right. Mr. Leung has commended the department for providing a lot of information in the papers, and it's hoped that the department will continue to do the same. As for three other questions, they relate to the breakwaters and the vessel impact protection system. Ms. Dorso, please. Thank you, member, for the support. Members already mentioned the berthing space. We are going to take note of this comment. As for the new breakwaters, regardless of the western or eastern breakwaters, they will adopt a vertical face design. Now, the director will in a moment explain in greater details, and he will also talk about the vessel impact protection system and its function. About the effluent discharge, we note the comment as well. Mr. Chen, thank you. Chairman, thank you, member, for the questions. Now, for the breakwaters on the eastern and western side, they will adopt a vertical face design. But closer to the shore, inevitably, we will need to adopt a more traditional construction method as indicated in enclosure 2, because in shallow waters, the vertical face design may not be cost effective. We need to have regard to the actual circumstances, including the geological environment, the overall environment, and the need for connecting the breakwater to the shore. About vessel impact protection system, the system mainly prevents vessels from colliding with the pedestrian walkway. And this is actually the design commonly adopted along the harbourfront. As for the space between the system and the pedestrian walkway, we plan to set up eco shorelines so that there is space for people to enjoy the view of the harbour. Mr. Hong Kam In. I support expansion of Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter to meet the berthing needs and to enhance our capability and resilience against extreme weather events. We also want to develop yacht tourism and create synergy with Ocean Park. I have 3 suggestions. We need to keep things in order when it comes to pleasure crafts and fishing vessels in the Typhoon Shelter, so that the place will remain enjoyable. The second point is that we need to provide coach parking spaces and car parks to create this ecosystem for the businesses nearby, including F&B sectors, so as to drive the development of the whole area. Now, the third suggestion is that I hope the works can be carried out in parallel so as to shorten the construction timetable. I have 2 questions. Now, there will be more and more electric yachts, but I don't see any onshore power supply mentioned in the paper. Are you going to provide such charges? The second point is, I understand the School of Engineering of CUHK already looked into the idea of nano power generators. Have you looked into this idea as well so as to adopt green energy? Ms. Ho. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for your support. In relation to pleasure crafts, fishing vessels, and how the berthing layout should be in the Typhoon Shelter, we have the Marine Department in attendance today. They will pay attention to this point as well. As I understand, there will be a discussion with stakeholders. The department plans to launch a consultation exercise in the first half of next year. Now, in relation to F&B and retail facilities that should come with the increase in berths, I note your comment. We are of the view that when it comes to developing the private marina, we cannot just provide berths. We need to provide F&B facilities as well. And that is why in the residential development in Po Chong Wan, we are going to set aside floor area to provide facilities such as a clubhouse, repair workshop for yachts, as well as F&B. As for breakwaters, we're going to create a public open space on it so as to create recreational space for public enjoyment as well. As for shortening the construction timetable, the project will span about 4.5 years. We will have 4.5 years, and we will make sure that things are on schedule. About this future trend of electric yachts and vessels, well, this will be left for the developer to decide, and that is whether such charges should be provided to meet the trend of electric yachts. Well, you need to reserve the capacity for charges then. Of course, about at sea power generation, have you considered making use of this tidal electricity generation facility. Well, this is a rather novel concept. I need to look up information to see whether this is suitable for the operation of a private marina. Right, members, we have 4 members waiting to speak. So for other members of the subcommittee present in the complex, please note the time. After Mr. Vincent Chang has spoken, I'm going to put this paper to a vote. So do take note of the time and make sure you come back to this room for the rest of the procedures. Next member to speak, Mr. Jonathan Lambert. Thank you. The business sector and the BPA support development of yard economy, and we strongly support the project of expansion of Aberdeen Typhoon shelter. Now, other members already asked detailed questions about the size of yards and the recurrent expenditure of $15 million. I'd like to ask about the time frame. According to the administration, tendering will begin in the first half of 2027, the earliest. But in enclosure 6, I see that there are 90 operators in Pochong 1. They are operating on short-term tenancies. I'm concerned about possible delays because of land resumption matters. So my question for the Permanent Secretary is this. Are there EGAs for the operators, and are the EGAs included in the $2 billion funding? And how do you make sure that these 90 operators will cooperate and move up in time so as not to cause any dispute and delay the project? The next point is about paragraph 12 of the paper. I understand that the large-scale development or land approach will be undertaken for 200 berths as well as residential development near Pochong 1 and auxiliary facilities. Now, the business sector fully appreciates and supports the residential element, but I'm concerned about the long-term development of yard economy. Now, if the tendering begins in the first half of 2027, Permanent Secretary, how would you make sure that the clauses will be included to make sure that the winning bidder will continue to invest in the project for the long-term operation of the marina so as to sustain its development? Permanent Secretary, thank you. Chairman, thank you. Member, for your support. There are 2 questions. First, the member is concerned about relocation of the 90 operators in Pochong 1. In fact, Ms. Young and her team and the Invigorating Island South office have been discussing the matter very closely with these operators. And in fact, we have learned something. For example, these 90 operators are not all active. In fact, only 20 to 30% are still active in the vessel repair and maintenance business. For other operators, they are getting old. They may not want to carry on their business. And that is why we want to introduce restrictive tendering for this site identified near Tin Wan. Now, for the affected operators, should they wish to carry on their business, they can apply under the restrictive tendering process for continuous operation. As for the EGA mentioned by the member, is not included in this project. It comes under the Lands Department. Funding will be set aside in offering ex gratia allowances for those affected by land resumption. This is the regular practice. About the large-scale land approach, how do we make sure that the bidders will be committed to the long-term operation of the marina? We are going to include as lease conditions the proposed land uses as well as the use of the water bodies and the responsibilities of developers. In other words, if the site is not used as a marina in the future, the government will take enforcement action.
多謝主席。咁主席話
Dr. Hui Simon Lee, I have 2 questions. First, I want to know if the administration has done any studies on the changing of water bodies. Has it studied whether it can make use of breakwaters to improve water quality? Second, I'd like to follow up on the question asked by Mr. Aaron Bok, that is to reserve enough flexibility. According to the administration, some money has been reserved. I want to know if you will do anything in terms of the structure of the breakwaters to reserve flexibility. Ms. Doris Ho. I'll ask Mr. Chen to elaborate later. As for the second question, that is whether we have reserved flexibility as we designed the breakwaters, the answer is yes. We adhere to a very high standard. The breakwaters will be able to withstand once in a century typhoon. Also, at the foundation of the new breakwaters, we allow room to increase the height of the breakwaters in case there are super typhoons. I think Mr. Kenneth Fogg asked similar questions, but let's see if Mr. Chen has anything to add. We've mentioned this in the EIA report. We have conducted a model testing. This is to ensure the speed of water current, and according to our test, the breakwaters will not affect the water pressure or current at the typhoon shelter. Now, going back to the breakwaters themselves, the crest is at about 11 meters above water surface. According to our design, we can increase the height by another 1 meter, but a wave at such a height will only appear when there are extreme weather. So the proposed design will be able to cope with the extreme weather. After the two members have spoken, I will put this item to vote. Mr. Scotland, I support the funding proposal to expand the Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter. To develop yacht economy, we have to make sure that we can attract visitors to come. There is a large part in the administration paper about how the expansion works can cope with extreme weather. However, the paper falls short of mentioning fire service installations. I want to know if it is incorporated in the design of the breakwaters. It's just that the paper does not elaborate on it. I asked this because there was a major fire at the typhoon shelter in Aberdeen, and also in Yamate. There are often fires that affect local residents. In the future Aberdeen Typhoon Shelter, there will be traditional vessels as well as luxurious yachts. Overseas, there are certain standards required of the design of breakwaters. That is, certain fire services pipes or ducts will have to be included in the design. I want to know if this kind of design will only be incorporated at a later stage, or have they been already incorporated into the proposed design? Permanent Secretary. I will first answer the question of whether there will be any fire service facilities or installations to protect the safety of vessels. Well, there will be a private marina at the typhoon shelter. I believe the future private operator will take into consideration fire safety because it will have to take out insurance. Also, the expansion project gives us an opportunity to replan the berthing spaces for different kinds of vessels. The member mentioned there were previous fires. That was because vessels were berthed very close to each other. So if fire breaks out on one vessel, it could affect the vessels nearby. In future, there will be a safe distance between each vessel, and that could help mitigate the consequences in case fire breaks out. Let's see if Mr. Chen has anything to add from the Public Works perspective. Mr. Chen, I thank the member for the questions. On the fire safety system, at nearby water bodies, we have reserved enough space for vessels to pass through in case fires break out. Chairman, this is exactly where the question lies. We currently rely on vessels to come in case a fire breaks out. In the design, I don't see any fire service pipes or ducts or relevant facilities incorporated. I think in order for us to develop yacht economy, we must take into consideration fire safety. Administration, please think about what support measures you can put in place to make sure that rescue operation can be done in a timely manner in case a fire breaks out in the future. Next, Mr. Vincent Chang. I have a similar question asked by Mr. Scott Learn, but first I'd like to express my support for this expansion project. We have been calling for the government to promote yacht economy, and we see that there is a certain level of appeal to Hong Kong, and there is demand for that as well. So I hope that the government can think about how to refine the design of the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter. Now, on fire safety, previously in Yau Ma Tei there was a fire, and the Marine Department held a meeting with us. They explained to us in detail what new measures will be put in place in Yau Ma Tei to prevent fire. I believe that the Yau Ma Tei Typhoon shelter is very different from the one in Aberdeen. But I agree that there needs to be enough fire safety facilities at the Aberdeen Typhoon shelter. For example, will there be enough space for rescue vessels to pass through so that they can get water in times of fire? Overall speaking, I hope fire safety can be enhanced. I believe there will be enough fire safety vessels, but I hope that there will be more detailed guidelines in terms of how within how long fire vessels will have to get there in case there is a fire. Ms. Doris Ho? Yes, we attach importance to fire safety. As our next step, we will talk to the Marine Department as well as the Fire Services Department to see what kind of fire service installations or facilities we can put in place both onshore and offshore at this expansion project. Anything to add by Mr. Chen? No? 18 members have spoken on this item. Yes. One member would like to speak for the second round. If members do not object, I will allow Mr. Kenneth Fogg to speak for the second round. Chairman, I just want to declare that my family runs yacht businesses in Nansha, Guangdong. They benefit from the northbound travel scheme, but in this particular project, we do not receive any benefits. Noted. Now I will put this item to vote. Will those in favor of PWSC bracket 2026-27 number 10 to vote raise their hands? Will those against please raise their hands? I believe the majority of members who voted are in favor of this proposal. This proposal is approved. Regarding whether the Finance Committee should have a further discussion on this, now I, in accordance with paragraph 41A of the PWSC procedures, put the following question to vote. This subcommittee recommends further discussion of PWSC 2026-27 number 10. If this question is passed, it means that the PWSC recommends the FC to have a further discussion on this paper. If this question is voted against, that means we do not recommend further discussion by the FC. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Will those against please raise their hands? I believe the majority of the members who voted are against this question. This question is negatived. That means this subcommittee does not recommend the Finance Committee to have a further discussion on PWSC 2026-27 number 10. We're concluding this item. I thank the relevant government officials for attending this item. Now we move on to the next item. I'll invite the relevant government officials to join us first.
我哋進入議程項目嘅第二項呢，係2007 GK 古洞北新發展。
Agenda item 207 GK Joint User Complex and Joint User General Office Building at Area 29, Kutong North. Please refer to PWSC bracket 2026-27 number 11. Members who would like to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. Members are invited to recommend to the FC the upgrading of the remainder. Members are invited to recommend to the FC the upgrading of 207 GK to Category A at an estimated cost of $9.7 billion in money of the day prices for the construction of a joint user complex and a joint user general office building at Area 29, Kutong North. The administration consulted the relevant panel on the 26th of May, and the salient point discussed at the panel meeting were emailed to members on the 25th of June. I see that 20 members have asked to speak. Members are quite concerned about this topic. I'll read out the names of the members so that they can get prepared. We'll start with Mr. Woon Kit, followed by Mr. Jonathan Lamport, Mr. Mark Chong, Mr. Ken Wong, Mr. Chang Hock Fong, Mr. Yu Ming, Mr. Chen Pui Leung, Deputy Chair, Mr. Dennis Leung, Ms. Christine Fong, Ms. Michelle Tang, Ms. Kwok Fu Yong, Mr. Hom Kam In, Mr. Andrew Lam, Mr. Lam Chun Sing, Mr. Jonathan Leung, Mr. Kitson Yang, Mr. Robert Lee, Mr. Aaron Bok, Mr. Kenneth Fogg, Ms. Vivian Kong, and Mr. Vincent Chang, who has just pressed the button. I understand that members are very concerned about this item. I'll try to give each member enough time to raise your questions and for the administration to reply. However, we have to manage time well. I'd like to remind members not to focus on policy matters or issues that have already been discussed at the panel. Please focus on matters that have to do with public works projects. However, I see that the paper submitted by the administration contains more content compared to the one submitted to the panel. Well, we've talked to the administration. We hope that the administration could provide a more detailed explanation to members about this project. But still, members, please pay attention to the time so that the administration has enough time to reply to your questions. I'll give each member 4 minutes, including questions and answers.
Starting with Mr. Ng Kit, thank you. Chairman, I have 2 questions. First, about cost control and the benefits of adopting MIC. Now, this project entails a cost of $9.7 billion, and that's $31,260 per unit, and that's on a par with the URA projects. Now, we adopt MIC, MEP, and we are doing away with the basement design, and these are cost control measures. Despite these, why is it that the cost hasn't significantly come down? I'd like the administration to explain how, by adopting MIC, we can save costs so as to justify this investment of $9.7 billion. The second question is this. This will be an icon for the North District, as pointed out in the paper. At the same time, the administration stresses the no-frills principle. And how to strike a balance? If you want to make this building iconic and aesthetically sound, whilst keeping costs at bay, how do you make sure that with a $10 billion investment, we can truly create an icon with global vision? Ms. Doris Ho, Permanent Secretary. Thank you. I thank members for the support, and let me start by responding to the member's question, and then Mr. Lee will supplement. We strive to cut costs as far as possible. Now, we've actually reduce the cost by some $200 million from the first proposal floated and explained to the panel. In order not to cause any cost overrun, we're going to adopt some cost-saving measures, including the MIC approach. It's a 35-story building, 27 of which will be office space. Half of the floor area of the 27 floors will be built using MIC. Comparing to other government buildings, this proportion is on the high side. Apart from MIC, we also adopt MEP, and that's for the E&M facilities, the multi-trade integrated mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And 80% of the floor area will adopt MEP, and that's again a very high proportion. These are cost-saving measures because many materials and components will be precast in a yard instead of on-site, and this can help us save money. We also adopt central procurement. And together with the MIC components, we can achieve economy of scale, and this can help save costs as well. Now, the member asked a question about the design, and that is, we want to adopt a a simple design, a no-frills design, and we strive to strike a balance. In fact, we've prepared impression drawings for members' reference. This building will be situated in amongst the greenery, and we want the building to blend in with the environment. And that is why, in terms of the external works and the design, we've also included the greening elements as well. Mr. Lee will supplement. Now, the unit cost is $31,000 per square meter for this project, and we've also made comparison cost-wise with the Tseung Kwan O project. That is the office building in Tseung Kwan O Area 67, the unit cost of which is $31,000 as pointed out in the paper. We have a joint user complex with a unit cost of $33,000. And there's also a multi-purpose arena. We're able to reduce costs to $33,000. And like the PS said, we will adopt MIC and MIMEP, through which we can further suppress costs to $31,000. This structure will span 130,000 square meters of floor area. The building will comprise office space, and for Tseung Kwan O, again we adopted MIC, but it took 5 years before completion, whereas here we're going to complete the construction in 3.5 years. About this building being an icon, we strive to adopt a simple design. As you can see in the artist's impression, this is a big and tall building, and it comes in the L shape. For the L shape, it will accommodate the sports hall. On the right-hand side or the eastern side, there will be an atrium with a resting area. In the area, in the middle, we are also going to preserve an old tree, so as to complete the design of the atrium. We're going to provide about 10,000 square meters of open space, and that it will go all the way to Kuto North Station, and it's a really fresh and stylistic design. By adopting MIC, we will install glass panels as well, so that we can create a whole cluster. Mr. Jonathan Lampert. Thank you, Chair. I support this funding application, which entails $97 billion. And this will be the first icon in Northern Metropolis. I believe that there is high expectation among the business sector and other sectors as well. We want to achieve cost effectiveness, we want to go green, and we want to make it an international icon. Now, according to paragraph 15 of the paper, in the initial period, upon completion of the government offices, about 5,000 people will move in. It will also generate a lot of footfall because of the sports hall and the library, and that some 63,000 square meters will be used for F&B. Now, my question is, in the latter stage of planning or tendering, will you consider expanding the proportion of business and F&B uses so as to generate more rental income and alleviate the burden of the Treasury? The other question is this. About 2 million people will move into Northern Metropolis, and this development will mark a major milestone. According to the paper, there'll be emphasis on the simple and modern design, and I believe that is a very good idea for this cluster to blend in with the overall rural environment. This will also be the first flagship project of the Northern Metropolis Development or the Coordination Office. So I hope that you will adopt a more visionary approach whilst not compromising cost and causing project delays. You can further optimize the design so that the government building in Northern Metropolis will be an international icon. It will also be as a textbook example. Ms. Ho, thank you, member, for the support. I'll give the floor to the director to further explain the design of the project. Let me answer the member's question and allay his concern. About 650 square meters of space being used for F&B or shops. His concern is whether the space is too limited. Now, our consideration is that we want to reserve space for public enjoyment, and that is, for example, as the sports hall, the library, etc. We want to strike a balance, but rest assured, to the northern side, we have a number of private residential developments. Malls will be developed, which will come with retail and F&B facilities. The time of completion for these developments will be sooner than this project. I believe that demand will be met. I'll give the floor to the director to explain the design. Apart from glass panels on the exterior, we want to enhance connectivity with the surrounding environment. We're going to provide 10,000 square meters of leisure space. There will also be a green rooftop, which will be open 24/7, and by that I mean it's a rooftop without site boundary, so it's accessible to the public at all times. It's for the public. So in the future, apart from enjoying the space at ground level, people can go up and enjoy the green rooftop as a public open space above the sports center. Now, may I remind public officers to stick to either Chinese or English when answering members' questions instead of code mixing. Next, Mr. Mark Zhang. Thank you, Chair. I support this project to build the joint user complex and the joint user general office building. This will be a very important landmark for the development of Northern Metropolis. As for per unit price, comparing to those in the joint user complexes in Tseung Kwan O and Capital Road in Kowloon City, I'd say that it's similar. I think we should support this project because when it comes to other cities in the mainland, such as Shenzhen, Guangzhou, their government will move the headquarters to any new development area that can help drive local economic development as well. But, well, it will be a big deal for the CGO to be moved there. Well, I hope that the government will explain the position in the upcoming 5-year plan. But anyway, will there be a chance for the former C's office to be relocated to Northern Metropolis so as to help save public coffers? The former chief executives will be able to enjoy a nicer environment as well. This can help drive the development of Northern Metropolis. Maybe the consulars can move there as well. The next point is about accessibility of the joint user complex. It's 5 minutes walk from Kutong station. I believe that people will find it really accessible. But then we still have motorists around, and there are 220 parking spaces, and you have ditched the basement car park design because the cost of developing basements is very high. And that's also true for the Counter Road project. For the private residential developments on the northern side of the site, 180 public parking spaces will be provided, but I'm concerned about the timetable and the distance from the joint user complex. Will it be too far away from the complex? Now, for the 220 parking spaces of the joint user general office building, during non-office hours, will the parking spaces be used by the public as well, like the arrangement for other existing government buildings? Now, about using glass panels on the exterior walls, I've been told by local residents that birds tend to collide with the exterior. So, will something be done in terms of the design?
Mr. Ho. We have already decided on which government departments will move their offices there. We plan to move 9 government bureaus or departments' offices to the site, which cover 2 headquarters. The headquarters of the Architectural Services Department as well as the FEHD. As we said last week when we replied to a member's question, we plan to reserve sites in Hung Shui Kiu for government office clusters. We hope that by such a relocation, we can drive development. We will review which offices should be moved there. Now, concerning parking spaces. To the north of this site, there are private developments, and in total, there are about 180 car parking spaces to be provided. These private residential developments will be completed soon. So I believe the 100-some car parking spaces will be made available within this year or the next. As for the 220 car parking spaces mentioned in the paper, will they be used by the public? Well, at the panel on development, we already promised that the car parking spaces could be used by the public in the future. And 20 of these car parking spaces will be open to the public at all times. 220 of them will be used by government officers, and we will consider whether they can be made available during weekends or holidays for public use. Now, turning to the question about birds. Yes, we want to be friendly to birds. We will adopt glass panels, but we want to use panels that are less reflective to protect birds. Next, Mr. Ken Wong. Thank you, Chairman. I support this proposal to build the JUC and the JUB. The government will adopt a single-site multiple-use model. There will be kindergarten, sports centers, youth centers, and so on. I think these facilities will be crucial to support the local residents there. I am concerned about facilities for youth. Recently, we attach importance to collaboration between parents and schools to promote career development and planning of young people. And we need community facilities in order to promote all these initiatives. Paragraph 3 of the paper says that there will be a kindergarten to the west of the site, and my question is, have you talked to the SWD, the LCSD, as well as the Education Bureau to make sure that there will be synergy among all these facilities? Also, for the Integrated Youth Service Center to be built there, will there be counseling support, emotional support, and other services to be provided to students so that these facilities can truly serve the young people and the families there. Also, I hope that these facilities can serve local residents so that they can play an effective role. The member is concerned how the hardware facilities will be made use of after they are completed and whether there will be support services provided in these facilities. Permanent Secretary, please reply to these questions. The member is concerned whether there will be sufficient and effective services to be provided in these hardware facilities so that we can truly serve the families, including students and young people there. There will be facilities at the joint user complex for serving people of different age groups. For example, there will be a kindergarten as well as a childcare center. This is to help working parents to take care of their children. There will also be an integrated youth service center. Future NGOs will help run these facilities, and I believe they will, in accordance with local demands, provide services that can meet the needs of local population. Here I will invite the SWD to talk about how the kindergarten as well as the integrated youth service center can help residents that will move into Tung North. Yes, Mr. Yong from the SWD. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the member for the questions. There will be an integrated youth service center that serves young people and children aged between 6 and 10. We will provide a range of different support services, and we will talk to schools. Mr. Yong, please speak to the mic. Through various platforms, the center will work with the community and schools. We will forge partnerships with schools and the community. We will plan different activities, including counseling support and other activities to address the needs of young people and children in the community. There are also support centers to ensure the physical and mental health of young people. Next, Mr. Chen Hofeng. The government is taking the lead to develop the Northern Metropolis, and I agree that we need such a joint user complex to attract the participation of the private sector in the development of the Northern Metropolis. I have a couple of questions. I see that different government departments will move to the site. For some government departments, in order to move with the times, they may have to make certain adjustments. For example, we talked about the new arrangements to be put in place by Hong Kong Post. And for kindergartens as well, they may need to make adjustments. As we move with the times, we might need less such services. So, will there be room for the administration to adjust the plans? For example, if certain service is no longer required, will you be able to change the plan and convert the site or premises for other use? Have you made an assessment of what kind of services will no longer be needed? I believe we will need the sports center. As for the post office, we might need it for another few more years. As for kindergarten, we might not need the kindergarten a decade later. Now I'd like to turn to car parking spaces. For such a large-scale building, you only have about 20 public car parking spaces. You set across that public car park, there will be 180 car parking spaces. So my question is, how many hourly rate car parking spaces will there be? If you tell me that there will only be 200 of them, that will not be enough. There will be the community hall, the library, and the sports center. 200 car parking spaces will not be enough to meet the needs. So on top of the 180 car parking spaces plus the 20 public car parking spaces, how many car parking spaces will there be within a 5-minute distance? Permanent Secretary. The member mentioned kindergarten and the post office. If there is a change of demand for such services, how will we be able to make use of the space? Well, the kindergarten and the post office will take up a space similar to an office, so I don't see any problems if we are to convert those two sites into other use. Now, to address the question about car parking spaces. To the north of the construction site, there are 3 private development projects. In total, they will provide a certain number of car parking spaces. And nearby, there are also public housing estates. For Kuchun Estate, residents will move in this year, and we haven't taken into consideration the car parking spaces to be provided there yet. Now, this construction site is well served by transportation. It is only a 5-minute walk from the Tung station. We encourage local residents to make use of the MTR service in the future. However, we understand that there will be private cars there. So we have added another 20 car parking spaces for public use. And as mentioned, there will be 220 car parking spaces for public offices as well as staff of public organizations. During weekends or after 7 or 8 p.m. on weekdays, where people do not have to go to work, some of the car parking spaces could be made available for public use. Chairman, can we ask the administration to provide this information? How many hourly rate car parking spaces will there be within the 5-minute walking distance? Yes, we will provide this information after the meeting. After Mr. Yu Ming has spoken and the administration has replied, we will take a break so that government officials and staff of the Secretariat can have a toilet break. Mr. Yu Ming. I believe we are all concerned about this public facility to be built. Therefore, I raised an oral question as well as a couple of questions at the panel meeting. I see that there is room for further reduction in terms of the unit cost, and members have also reflected problems with car parking spaces. There will be 20 public car parking spaces, and I think the administration is moving towards the right direction. Kuchun Estate will see population intake within this year. So I think there is a pressing need for these public facilities. Next year, the Northern Link will be commissioned. That is, the Kutung station will be commissioned. So a lot of facilities will have to be put into use soon. However, the construction cost is still very high. I wonder if there's room for further compression of cost. I see that contingency cost is as high as $880 million. The government is adopting the design and build approach, and you are holding tendering exercise in parallel. How come contingency costs are so high? And how will the administration make sure that the contingency cost will not be abused? Also, this will be a 35-story high building. I believe that this will be a flagship project in the northern metropolis. How will you make sure that you will adhere to the no-frills approach and that you will strike a balance between ensuring a simple design and that the building will serve multiple purposes? This will be an iconic building in the northern metropolis. I want to know if you can further reduce the construction cost.
P.S. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for the support. To answer the first question about contingency provision. In percentage terms, only 10% of total cost is set aside for contingencies, as similar to the arrangements in other projects. For design and build is one way of contracting the project out, but we can't rule out whether there be a need to refine the scope of project, and that is why we need to keep the contingencies in place. We will bear in mind the principle of fiscal prudence, and that if we use up the contingencies or use the contingencies to a certain level, we'll need further approval. So there'll be gatekeeping within the government. The second question, I'll give the floor to the director to explain how we achieve cost saving through the design. I want to highlight, however, that the proposed design is not one that will attract people to just play sports in the sports center and borrow a book in the library and that's it. As explained by the director, we have over 10,000 square meters of public open space, and that it will be a meeting point for the community to interact with the area, and that you can finish what you have to do there and then you can enjoy yourselves at the public open space. Director of Architectural Services. There is room to suppress costs because we have adopted MIC and central procurement, as explained in the paper. We've prepared estimates, but then we have not published the tender document. We may carry out joint tender with other projects such as schools, and that will be able to further achieve cost savings. The meeting will now be suspended until 11:10. Please come back. We'll take a break now. 11:10.